You're listening to Big World Network.
Accidental Passion, Episode 2, Tropical Shower, read by Meagan Hedin. Warning: although there is no material subject matter within that couldn't be found in any general bookstore with no age constraint, this series is rated 18 and contains adult situations and content. It is intended for mature audiences only and should not be read if you are uncomfortable with graphic sexual intimacy. It only took Kim a day to understand why Belize, and San Pedro in particular, was so special to Ryan. They had gone to sleep early the night they arrived, not even making love, both exceedingly tired from the day of travel. They climbed into Ryan's bed, leaving the sliding glass wall to the outside open, allowing the sheer fabrics to sway from the gentle sea breeze and the sound of the surf to soothe them to sleep. Ryan had held Kim in his arms, spooning her from behind, stroking her hair as she drifted off to sleep. The next morning, Kim felt alive from the bright sun and the warm tropical breeze. Marcus had wheeled in a stainless steel cart with a coffee thermos and 2 coffee mugs, a pitcher of freshly squeezed orange juice with 2 glasses, and several croissants. It was a perfect breakfast, and they moved to the balcony and sat in thick terry cloth robes enjoying the nourishment while watching the surf. "I could get used to this," Kim said wistfully. Ryan smiled. "I never get used to it. I have no desire to get used to it, and it is still as special as the first time I came to the island." The view truly was amazing, and Kim looked on from the infinity pool to the surf of the ocean, to the sandy beach in view to either side, with multiple palm trees swaying in the morning breeze. "I have to ask, you really have never taken a date here?" "Never." "No woman would be able to resist this. I don't understand why you wouldn't. You're single and had this available to you. It's the perfect retreat to win the heart of anyone you wanted and have a romantic time. I just don't get it." She half laughed to keep things light, but she was genuinely curious. Ryan chuckled as he sipped his hot coffee and gazed out over the water. "Are you saying I need the help of a romantic tropical island to be able to succeed with women?" Kim playfully reached over and slapped his arm. "No, that's not what I'm saying. With your looks and charm, not to mention fame, I can't imagine it ever being a challenge for you. But it would certainly be a more enjoyable location for spending time with a companion." Ryan remained silent for a moment, listening to the morning birds and gentle surf washing up on the beach before rolling back down into the ocean. "I never wanted to cheapen my experience here. This place is so wonderful, the people are so warm, and I can be myself and am totally comfortable here. It's my escape, my oasis. It just never seemed right to share it with someone before." He paused and looked up at her. Until now, anyway. Kim felt a warmness move through her from his sincerity in the look he gave her. "Thank you." After a few moments of silence, she spoke again. "I can't wait to explore the island with you today. Does everyone speak English?" "Pretty much. It was a British territory until the 80s, and the public schools and Catholic schools are all taught in English. I like that it still has a community feel from what I saw yesterday." Ryan sighed. "It is a difficult balance here. There has been some development, and the people depend on tourism for money. But too much, and they would lose themselves, and it would become just another Cancun or similar tourist destination." Kim slid her hand on top of his. "You really do care about this place and the people. I can't wait to experience it with you, to share it and learn what it is about this island that you're drawn to. I think it's the simplicity of the people, life here, and the beauty. It is so refreshing, uncomplicated, and truly a respite from life in Detroit," he answered, turning his hand around to clasp hers and hold it in his. "Do you write while you're here?" Ryan laughed, his smile showing laugh lines extending to the corners of his eyes. Kim loved how easily he laughed, the lines evidence that it was a common occurrence, something that was so very different from Kevin, who rarely laughed. "What's so funny?" Kim asked, smiling back at him and enjoying the feel of his fingers clasped around hers. "I come here to escape the distractions of life in Detroit, and to focus. That is always the plan anyways, and often works, resulting in productive writing. But because of the beauty and slower life, sometimes it has the opposite effect." He chuckled again. "But I always seem to find excuses for procrastinating with my writing no matter where I am." They sat silently for a few moments, enjoying the morning sun beginning to heat up, the breeze off the water keeping them cool. Suddenly, Ryan stood up, still holding Kim's hand and tugging on it gently. "Come with me." Kim stood up and let him lead her back into the bedroom and into the large open bathroom. He guided her to the entrance of the open outdoor shower. On their arrival and quick tour, she hadn't had a chance to really take note of it. It was like a mini oasis off the bathroom. There was no ceiling, and she was able to enjoy the same morning sunlight they had been experiencing moments ago on the patio, seeping through the leaves of a tall palm on the outside of the room hanging over the wall. There were 3 walls with large square stone tiles, and a half wall that was open only to the ocean, allowing a view of the surf while in the shower. One of the side walls had a tile bench built into it extending the entire length of the wall. Each of the taller walls contained shower heads, and the wall with the door opening into the bathroom had built-in tile shelves with stacks of big thick towels and various shampoos and body washes. The experience was unique. All the sensations of the outdoors and views of the ocean, yet in complete privacy from anyone that may be walking the beach, as they probably wouldn't be able to see much even if they were directly in eyesight of the shower. Ryan turned on the water to a shower head extending out from one of the taller sidewalls and, remaining out of the flow of water, turned back towards Kim. She stood still as he untied the terry cloth belt keeping the robe closed. As the ends of the belt fell to her sides dangling, her robe fell open, exposing herself completely to Ryan. She liked the reaction she saw on his face, the admiring look, which made her feel comfortable being exposed to his view in the sunlight. He slid his hands up to the sides of her neck and down her shoulders, and finally down her arms, causing the robe to slide silently to the tile floor, the soft cloth material stimulating her skin. She could immediately feel the warm tropical breeze swirling around the open shower, around her body and between her legs, sending a small shiver through her despite the warm air. Ryan was looking down into her eyes with admiration. Maintaining the lock on his eyes, she reached out and untied his robe and immediately slid it off his body. It was her turn to admire his body. He was in great shape, with the build of a swimmer, broad-shouldered and slender. Resting her hands on his chest, she slid them down to his abdomen before briefly cupping him, feeling him grow hard in her hands as he leaned in and kissed her, pulling her tight to his body. After a moment, he pulled her away and guided her under the flow of the warm water from the shower head. Turning her to face out over the ocean, he stood behind her and reached for a shampoo bottle and put some in his hand. Kim took a deep breath as she felt his hands move to her hair and began working in the shampoo. His fingers expertly worked her scalp, sending shivers through her body. She was already experienced with the expertness of his touch for the massage at the spa, but feeling his touch in combination with the incredible morning view of the endless ocean, the swaying palm branches above the open ceiling, and the tropical breeze in combination with the warm water in his hands was nearly overwhelming. She almost found it hard to remain standing. Wanting to give back a little pleasure, she reached behind her and found him, hard, before wrapping her fingers around him firmly, feeling him twitch in her hand. She gently stroked while he continued washing her hair. When he was finished working in the shampoo, he turned her to face him, causing her to reluctantly release him from her grasp. He guided her under the water again and worked his fingers through her hair to work out all the soap as she closed her eyes, enjoying the pampering. Reaching for a real sponge, probably from the very ocean she was gazing at, Ryan poured some body wash on it and brought the lightly coarse sponge to her shoulders. He began working the body wash over her flesh, working down her shoulders to her arms, and then back up to the insides of them, lifting them with his other hand enough to wash up to her underarm. It was somewhere between erotic and a tickle for Kim. Making his way down her chest, he worked the coarse sponge in circles over her chest and nipples, causing them to stand erect. She could tell he was enjoying this as much as she was, noticing his cock jumping slightly as he ran his hands and sponge over her nipples again. Before moving further down her body, Ryan pulled her closer to him, so his arms could wrap around her and reach to her back with the soapy sponge, his cock pressed hard between her legs to her lower abdomen. As he began making the same circular motions on her back, all she could think about was how much she wanted him inside her now. He finished her backside by working down to her behind and running the sponge up between her cheeks and back down under the curves to the top of her legs, before sliding it across her flesh on the outside of her hips to between the front of her legs. When he finished and rinsed her off, Ryan guided her to the tile bench on the opposite wall. He laid a towel down on it and sat her down on it in front of him, before putting a folded towel down on the tile floor in front of her by her feet. Kneeling down on the towel, he spread her knees apart and leaned down to kiss the inside of her knee. He worked his way up the inside of her leg with little kisses, and, as he reached the warmth between her legs, Kim threw her head back in pleasure, staring up at the blue sky through the swaying branches of the palms as he expertly circled her most pleasurable spot with the tip of his tongue, and she almost immediately felt the first wave of orgasm move through her entire body. Rick sat on his motorcycle, the kickstand down, and reached into his jeans pocket for his phone. Bringing up the small browser, he typed in www.flightaware.com and entered the tail number to Ryan's jet. Almost immediately, route information popped up on the screen with a map showing a line extending from Detroit down to Mexico to Belize. This is too easy, he thought, as he then opened up a flight search website and found a 4 p.m. departure to Belize with a connecting flight in Houston. By 9 p.m. he would be there. He smiled. Kim would know his love when he surprised her there. She would finally see his dedication to her and know that they belonged together. Rick slid the phone back into his pocket, balanced the bike between his legs, and kicked the stand up with his foot as he simultaneously started it up and drove off.
This has been a presentation of Big World Network. Visit us on bigworldnetwork.com for more free weekly series, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Big World Network.